Stop the car. The driver slammed the brakes, tires screeching on the wet Lagos road. The rain beat hard against the Bentley's roof, like thousands of tiny fists. Horns blared from impatient danfos behind them, but Andrew Imika didn't hear a thing. His eyes were fixed, frozen, on something, or rather, someone outside. "Sir!" The driver turned, confused. "Is something wrong?" Andrew's voice came out rough, shaky. That man on the sidewalk. "Stop here." "Sir, it's Oshodi Underbridge. It's dangerous." "I said stop." The Bentley rolled to a slow halt. Rain streamed down the tinted windows, distorting the world outside like tears running down glass. Through the blur, Andrew saw him, an old man kneeling in the mud, his arms outstretched, begging for food. "Please, just bread." The man's cracked voice barely rose above the storm. "I just want to eat." The sight hit Andrew in the chest like a hammer. He didn't know why his hands began to tremble. He didn't know why his throat suddenly went dry. All he knew was that his heart recognized that face before his mind did. That beard. That voice. Those eyes. No, it can't be him. Hello family, before I tell you what happened next, please, take a moment, subscribe. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Let's keep hope alive together. And let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Now back to the rain. The man outside coughed, shivering under the downpour. His soaked shirt clung to his bones, and his trembling hand scraped the wet pavement as cars splashed dirty water past him. Nobody stopped. Nobody even looked. But Andrew couldn't move. He couldn't blink. Because this wasn't just any beggar. This was Mr. Williams, the school janitor who had once pulled him from death. The memory slammed into him with the force of lightning. He was 10 again, small, proud, foolish. The school swimming pool glittered in the sun. He had jumped into the deep end, desperate to prove he could swim. But he couldn't. Water filled his lungs. His arms flailed, sinking fast, until strong arms had grabbed him. A man's voice had shouted, "Stay with me, boy. Stay with me." That voice. That same voice now begging in the rain. Andrew's breath caught. "Mr. Williams," he whispered, barely audible. "Sir?" The driver asked again. But Andrew had already reached for the door handle. "Sir, you can't go out there, it's raining." The door flung open. Rain slammed into him instantly, soaking his Italian suit, his polished shoes. Cold water seeped into his socks, but he didn't care. Step by step, he crossed the road, the storm blurring everything around him. Mr. Williams didn't notice him approach. He was too busy trying to shield his bowl from the rain. His shoulders shook from cold and exhaustion. Andrew crouched beside him, holding an umbrella over the frail figure. "Mr. Williams," he said softly. The old man froze. Slowly, he lifted his head. His eyes were bloodshot and weary. But as they met Andrew's, recognition flickered. His lips quivered. "Andrew," he whispered. "My boy." The sound of his own name broke something inside Andrew. His vision blurred with tears. Yes, it's me," he said, his voice trembling. "You saved me once. At the school pool. Do you remember?" The old man's shoulders sagged under invisible weight. "Ah, yes," he breathed. "I remember. You almost drowned. You were just a child." "I was a child," Andrew said, his chest tight. "And you were the man who gave me life." For a moment, both men knelt in the rain, the billionaire and the beggar, each shaking for different reasons. Cars rushed past. People stared, whispered. But Andrew didn't care. He grabbed Mr. Williams' cold, trembling hands. "What happened to you, Baba? How did it come to this?" The old man's voice cracked. "Life happened, my son. Fire took my home. People called me cursed. They said I was bad. I lost everything. Everything." His tears mixed with the rain, his sobs drowned by thunder. Andrew swallowed hard. His throat burned. "No," he said, shaking his head. "You are not a bad man. You saved me. You gave me a second chance." He stood, then did something no one expected. He bent down again and lifted Mr. Williams into his arms. He carried the frail man across the flooded street, his designer shoes splashing mud, his coat plastered to his back. The world stared. Cameras flashed. But he didn't see any of it. All he saw was the man who once pulled him from death's grip. The driver jumped out of the car, shocked. "Sir, what are you doing?" Andrew's voice thundered through the storm. "He once saved my life. Tonight, I'll save his." He placed Mr. Williams gently in the back seat, covered him with his own suit jacket, and slammed the door. "Lagos General Hospital," he ordered. "Now." The car peeled away from the underbridge, leaving the storm behind, but carrying a new one inside it. Andrew sat beside the old man, gripping his hand tightly. His heart pounded. His mind screamed. "What happened to you, Barbara?" Outside, the rain washed the city clean. Inside, 2 lives were about to be changed forever. The car sliced through the storm like a black arrow. Rain drummed on the roof so hard it drowned out every sound except one, the shallow, trembling breaths of Mr. Williams. Andrew sat beside him in the back seat, gripping his cold hand. "Stay with me, Barbara," he whispered. "Don't close your eyes. Not tonight." Mr. Williams shivered beneath Andrew's suit jacket, his frail frame rattling with each bump on the wet road. "Sir," the driver said nervously from the front. "We'll reach Lagos General in 10 minutes. "Make it 5, Andrew said, his voice low but fierce. The streets of Oshodi flashed by, blurred lights, reflections, puddles. The city never stopped, not even for rain. Vendors still huddled under plastic sheets, bus conductors shouted destinations, and thunder rolled over it all. But inside that car, time had stopped. Andrew couldn't stop replaying the image in his head, the same man who once pulled him from water now half-conscious beside him, soaked, starving, forgotten. He whispered again, "Not tonight, Barbara. You saved me once. Now it's my turn." The Bentley screeched to a stop at the hospital gates. Without waiting for help, Andrew threw the door open and stepped out into the rain again. "Help!" he shouted. "Someone help!" Doctors and nurses turned as they saw a man in a drenched designer suit carrying an old beggar in his arms. It was a sight no one expected, a billionaire soaked in rain, face tight with panic, holding a man the city had already thrown away. "This man is my father." Andrew's voice cracked as he burst through the lobby doors. "Admit him. Treat him. Whatever he needs, he gets it." Gasps filled the air. Some recognized him. Andrew Imika, CEO of Imika Technologies, one of the richest men in Nigeria. But that night, titles didn't matter. Nurses rushed forward. Mr. Williams was laid on a stretcher and wheeled away under bright hospital lights. Andrew followed, drenched and breathless, his heart pounding like the rain outside. Minutes felt like hours. Doctors worked behind the glass doors. Andrew paced the hallway, hands shaking. Every drop of water dripping from his hair felt like time slipping away. Finally, a doctor stepped out. "Sir," he said, removing his gloves. "He's stable for now. Weak from malnutrition and exposure, but you brought him just in time. Another hour, and he wouldn't have made it." Andrew's head fell forward. He exhaled, a mix of relief and guilt. "Thank you," he said quietly. "Do whatever it takes. Money isn't an issue." The doctor nodded. "He's lucky to have you." "No," Andrew said, eyes glistening. "I'm lucky to have him." 2 days later, the rain stopped. Lagos wore a clean, silver glow after the storm. Inside the quiet hospital room, sunlight streamed through the blinds, falling across Mr. Williams' bed. Andrew walked in with a small smile. "Morning, Barbara." Mr. Williams turned his head weakly, his face now clean-shaven, his eyes clearer. "Andrew," he said softly, "you shouldn't have done all this." Andrew pulled a chair closer. "You saved me when I had nothing to give. Let me do the same." The old man smiled faintly. "When I saw you that night, I didn't even know who you were. I just wanted to survive the rain." Andrew leaned forward, his tone gentle. "What happened, Barbara? How did you end up there?" Mr. Williams' eyes clouded with memory. His voice trembled. After I saved you that day, people called me a hero. For 1 week. He gave a bitter laugh. Then rumors started. Parents complained. They said I was careless, that I let children near danger. The school dismissed me. He paused, staring at his hands. Then, the fire came. My house burned. My wife and 2 girls didn't make it out. That was the night my world ended. Andrew's breath caught. Your family? Gone, Mr. Williams whispered. Since then, I've been walking through this life like a ghost. I begged for jobs. People avoided me. They said I was cursed. Eventually, I stopped trying. Silence filled the room. The only sound was the rhythmic beep of the hospital monitor. Andrew swallowed hard. You don't deserve this, he said finally. You gave me life, and life took yours. That's not fair. Mr. Williams smiled sadly. Fair. The world isn't fair, my son. But sometimes, it gives you one person who makes it all worth it. You are that person for me. Andrew blinked back tears. He reached across the bed and held the old man's hand. Then from today, he said firmly, you'll never walk alone again. Mr. Williams's lips trembled. What do you mean? I mean, Andrew said, standing tall, you're coming home with me. You'll live with me, eat with me, and rest. You've done enough suffering. It ends today. The old man's eyes widened. He tried to speak, but no words came out. Only tears. Andrew smiled through his own. No more begging, Barbara. You saved me once. Now, I'll spend the rest of my life saving you. That night, as they drove away from the hospital, the city lights danced on the car windows. Mr. Williams sat quietly beside him, dressed in clean clothes for the first time in years. His hands rested on his knees, trembling not from cold but from disbelief. Outside, Lagos roared with life again. But inside that car, something sacred had begun, a circle of gratitude closing after many years. Andrew glanced at the man beside him and whispered, Welcome home, Barbara. Family, if this story has touched your heart, please subscribe. Together, we share hope. Together, we remember those who once helped us when the world forgot. Tell us in the comments, do you believe kindness can come full circle? Welcome home, Barbara. Those were the words that echoed in Mr. Williams's heart as the Bentley rolled through the tall iron gates of Andrew's mansion in Ikoyi. It wasn't just a house, it was a world. White walls gleamed under warm lights, fountains danced in the courtyard, and the smell of fresh flowers floated through the air. Mr. Williams stared through the window, speechless. He had slept under bridges and in empty bus parks for years, but now, this? He turned to Andrew, voice trembling. My son, are you sure this is right? Andrew smiled. Barbara, this house was built from a life you helped me keep. So yes, it's right. When they entered, the staff froze. They had seen their boss walk in from business trips and meetings, but never like this. Andrew was drenched, tired, but smiling. Beside him stood an elderly man in simple clothes and worn slippers. Andrew's voice was firm but gentle. Everyone, this is Mr. Williams. From today, he lives here. Treat him with the same respect you give me. There was silence. Then one of the housekeepers, an older woman, smiled and said, Welcome, sir. That broke the tension. The others joined in. Welcome, sir. Mr. Williams's eyes filled with tears. For years, people had looked away from him. Now they were calling him sir. Over the next few weeks, the mansion changed. Laughter replaced silence. The staff said it felt like the house itself was breathing again. Andrew made sure of everything. New clothes, a warm room, and a personal doctor to check on Mr. Williams daily. But it wasn't just about comfort. It was about family. At dinner, Andrew would pull out a chair beside him. Sit here, Barbara, he'd say. This table feels empty without you. Mr. Williams would laugh shyly, shaking his head. Ah, Andrew, I don't belong here. You belong exactly here, Andrew would reply. You saved my life. You belong wherever I am. Then came the day Andrew introduced his wife. Amanda walked into the living room with her radiant smile. She had heard everything. How her husband found the man who once saved him. She approached Mr. Williams and bowed slightly. "Good evening, sir," she said softly. "My husband told me about you. Thank you for saving him. Because of you, I have him." Mr. Williams blinked, caught off guard. "Ah, my daughter, don't thank me. Thank God." Amanda smiled warmly. "Still, sir, I owe you." From that moment, they bonded like family. She called him Barbara Williams. He called her my daughter. Months passed, and the seasons turned. The mansion was no longer just a place of marble and chandeliers. It was filled with laughter, cooking smells, and the sound of life. Every morning, Mr. Williams would sit on the balcony, watching the city stretch awake. Andrew often joined him with a cup of coffee. "You've built quite a life, Andrew," Mr. Williams said one day. "I'm proud of you." Andrew chuckled. "Because of you, Barbara. Every step I took after that day in the pool led me here. You gave me a second chance." Mr. Williams looked down at his hands, weathered by years of labor and struggle. "And you gave me a second life. Maybe this is how God balances the world." One evening, as the sun dipped over the lagoon, Amanda walked in with excitement in her eyes. "Andrew," she said, "I need to tell you something." He smiled. "You're glowing. What's going on?" She took his hands, her voice trembling with joy. "I'm pregnant." For a second, Andrew didn't move. Then he shouted, "What?" and burst into laughter, spinning her around. Mr. Williams heard the laughter from the hallway and rushed in, worried. "What happened?" Amanda turned to him, tears shining in her eyes. "Barbara, I'm going to be a mother." For a moment, the old man froze. Then his eyes widened, and he raised his hands to the sky. "Ah, God is faithful." He hugged them both tightly. "My children, you've given me joy I thought I'd never feel again." 9 months later, the house that had once echoed with loneliness now overflowed with celebration. Amanda gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl. They named them Jerry and Jessica. Mr. Williams was the first to hold them. His hands trembled, but his eyes shone like a man who had seen heaven itself. "Jerry and Jessica," he whispered, his voice breaking. "You don't know it yet, but you've given your Barbara reason to live again." Andrew stood behind him, tears glistening. "Barbara," he said softly, "you'll never be alone again. You're family now. Always." From that day, mornings began with the cries of babies and ended with laughter. Mr. Williams became their storyteller, their teacher, their shadow. He told them tales of clever tortoises and wise kings, his voice rising and falling like a song. Sometimes, Amanda would watch from the doorway, smiling through tears. Once, she asked Andrew, "Do you realize what he's done for us?" Andrew nodded. "He saved me twice. Once from drowning, and once from forgetting what really matters." But even in all the laughter, time moved quietly. Mr. Williams grew slower, his steps lighter, his hair whiter. Yet, every time the twins called out "Barbara," his eyes lit up with the fire of youth. At night, he would whisper prayers on the balcony. "Lord," he'd say, "you took everything from me once, but you gave me a family again. If I must go, let me go knowing they'll be all right." The wind would carry his words into the dark, and the stars above Lagos seemed to listen. Family, when life takes everything from you, sometimes it's just making space for something new. If this chapter touched your heart, please subscribe. Together, we tell stories that remind the world, kindness never dies. Tell us in the comments, do you believe blessings can come twice? Barbara, wake up. The twins' laughter echoed through the mansion as they ran down the hallway, barefoot and giggling. Jerry held a small toy plane. Jessica clutched her doll. They burst through Mr. Williams' bedroom door, just like every morning. "Barbara, tell us a story." Jessica squealed. "The one about the tortoise and the king." Silence. The morning sun spilled through the curtains, bathing the room in soft gold. Mr. Williams lay on his bed, peaceful, his hands resting gently on his chest. "Barbara," Jerry whispered, shaking his arm. "Wake up." Still nothing. Jessica tugged at the blanket, her small voice trembling. "Barbara, please." But Mr. Williams didn't move. His face was calm, almost smiling, as if he'd just finished whispering a prayer. Moments later, Amanda's scream tore through the house. "Andrew! Andrew, come quickly!" Andrew sprinted down the hall, heart pounding. He burst into the room, his mind refusing to believe what his eyes already knew. He dropped to his knees beside the bed, shaking the old man's shoulders. "Barbara, please, wake up. It's me. Andrew, please." Amanda covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. The twins clung to her legs, crying. Andrew's voice broke. "You can't leave me, Barbara. You can't." But Mr. Williams had already gone, quietly, peacefully, as if the heavens themselves had whispered his name. The funeral was quiet and beautiful. Under a wide mango tree in the garden, they laid him to rest. Andrew's voice cracked as he spoke. "He saved me as a boy. I was blessed to save him as a man. He died not as a beggar, but as a father." Amanda stood beside him, holding the twins. Many who came to mourn had never known Mr. Williams personally, but they cried anyway. His story had already begun to spread through Lagos, a tale of a janitor whose kindness outlived him. Days turned into weeks. The mansion felt empty again. The laughter had dimmed, the nights were too quiet. One evening, when the others were asleep, Andrew found himself walking toward Barbara's room. He opened the door and stepped inside. The scent of palm oil and old books still lingered. The walking stick rested by the bed. His glasses lay neatly on the nightstand. Everything was as he left it. Andrew sat down on the edge of the bed and sighed. "Barbara, I miss you." He leaned forward, his head in his hands. When he straightened, something caught his eye, a slight crack in the wooden floor near the foot of the bed. Curious, he knelt down and pressed it. The floorboard shifted with a soft creak. Beneath it, wrapped in a piece of brown paper, was an envelope. It was old, yellowed, and fragile. On the front, written in shaky handwriting, were two words. "For Andrew." Andrew's heartbeat quickened. He sat back on the bed and carefully opened the letter. "My dear Andrew, if you are reading this, then I have gone to meet my wife and daughters. But before I leave this world, I must tell you something I've hidden for years. You were not the only child I saved that day at the pool. Another boy fell into the water after you. I pulled him out too. His family never forgave me. They said I lured you both there. They ruined my name, my life, and my peace. But I do not hate them, my son. I forgave them long ago. If you ever find that boy, protect him as I protected you. Tell him I never meant harm. Tell him I loved all my children, even those who were not my own. Mr. Williams." The paper slipped from Andrew's hands. His vision blurred. "Another boy," he whispered. Amanda entered quietly, holding a cup of tea. "Andrew, you've been in here for hours. Are you okay?" He handed her the letter with trembling fingers. "Read this." She read silently. When she finished, her eyes widened. "He saved another child." Andrew nodded. "And that child's family destroyed him. Amanda, this is why he suffered. They took his life for something he didn't do." Amanda's voice dropped to a whisper. "Then you have to find him, Andrew. That other boy. He deserves to know the truth." Andrew looked up, fire in his eyes. "I will. I owe Barbara that much." The next morning, Andrew began to search. He called old classmates, reached out to former teachers, even paid a visit to his old school. No one remembered much, until one retired sports instructor finally did. "Yes," the man said over the phone. "There were two boys who nearly drowned that day. You, and another boy named David Okoro. His parents blamed the janitor. They forced the school to dismiss him." The name hit Andrew like thunder. "David Okoro," he repeated, almost to himself. The instructor sighed. His family was wealthy once. But they lost everything after that scandal. "I don't know where he is now." When the call ended, Andrew sat still for a long time, the letter open on his desk. "David Okoro," he whispered again. "Barbara carried your guilt all his life. I'll find you. I swear I will." Across town, in a dim apartment in Ajigunle, a man sat alone by a cracked wall. A single bulb flickered above him. He stared at a faded family photo, his parents, smiling once upon a time. That janitor ruined our lives, he muttered bitterly. He took everything from us. His name was David Okoro. And though he didn't know it yet, his life and Andrew's were about to collide, one last time. "Sir, are you sure you want to go in alone?" the driver asked. Andrew didn't answer. He just stared up at the crumbling apartment block in Ajagunle. The paint peeled like old skin, and the smell of rain mixed with rust and poverty. He clutched the letter in his hand, the one Barbara Williams had left behind. "Yes," Andrew said finally. "I owe him this." He climbed the narrow, uneven stairs, the air thick with dampness and echoes. Every step felt heavier than the last. At the top, he stopped in front of a metal door with a flickering light bulb above it. He knocked twice. Silence. Then, the door creaked open. A man in his 40s stood there, rough beard, sunken eyes, bitterness etched deep in his face. "Who are you?" he asked sharply. Andrew straightened his shoulders. "My name is Andrew Imika. I think we share a past." The man frowned. "I don't know you." Andrew's voice softened. "You nearly drowned when we were boys. At the school pool. The janitor, Mr. Williams, saved us both." The man's jaw clenched. "Don't say that name in my house." Andrew stepped closer. "Why not? He saved our lives." "Saved?" the man snapped. "He destroyed mine. My parents said he lured us there, that he cursed us. After that day, everything fell apart. We lost our fortune, our name, our peace. He ruined us." Andrew reached into his coat pocket and pulled out the letter. "No," he said quietly. "You've been living with a lie. Read this." He held out the paper with trembling hands. The man hesitated, then snatched it away. His eyes moved across the words slowly. Line by line, his expression changed, from anger to confusion to something that looked like pain. When he finished, the paper slipped from his fingers. "He remembered me." "He remembered you," Andrew said. "He forgave you. Even after all that happened, he still called you my son in that letter." The man's lips trembled. His eyes filled with tears. "All these years. I hated him. I blamed him. And he was praying for me." Andrew nodded. "He carried the weight your parents gave him until the day he died." The man sank into a chair, his face buried in his hands. The bitterness that had ruled his life cracked like glass. Later that week, the gates of the Imika mansion opened again. But this time, not for sorrow, for redemption. David stood at the entrance, wearing clean clothes Andrew had sent him. His eyes darted around nervously as the twins ran toward him. "Uncle David!" Jessica shouted, grabbing his hand. Jerry giggled beside her. David blinked in shock. "They call me Uncle." Andrew smiled from the doorway. "They call everyone family here." Amanda came forward, warm and kind as always. "Welcome home," she said simply. David looked around the massive home, the laughter, the warmth, and for the first time in years, he smiled. A real smile. That night, they sat under the old mango tree where Mr. Williams was buried. The moonlight filtered through the leaves, painting the ground with silver shadows. Andrew poured a small glass of palm wine and raised it toward the sky. "To Barbara Williams," he said. "The man who saved 2 boys, and gave them back their lives." David nodded, his voice breaking. "He saved us both. I just didn't see it until now." Amanda looked between them and asked softly, "Andrew, what made you so sure about finding him?" Andrew held up the letter again. "Because Barbara said one thing that kept echoing in my mind. Protect him as I protected you. I couldn't ignore that." They sat in silence, listening to the wind rustling through the leaves. And then, Amanda noticed something, an old, weathered photograph sticking out from the back of the letter. "What's that?" she asked, taking it carefully. The photo was faded but clear enough, a younger Mr. Williams standing beside a smiling woman and a small boy with bright eyes. Amanda turned it over. On the back, in faded ink, were the words, "To my son, Michael. May life be kinder to you than it was to me." She froze. "Andrew, His son's name wasn't David Okoro. It was Michael. Andrew's brow furrowed. Wait, Michael. But that's... David looked up sharply. His hand shook as he reached for the photo. When his eyes met the image, the color drained from his face. That's my mother, he whispered. That's me. Silence. Everyone stared. The truth hit like thunder. Andrew stepped back slowly. David, you mean? He nodded, tears streaming down his face. Mr. Williams. Barbara, he wasn't just my savior. He was my father. Amanda covered her mouth. The twins clung to her dress. David fell to his knees, clutching the photograph. All my life, I hated the man who loved me most. Andrew bent beside him, placing a hand on his shoulder. He forgave you long ago, brother. He carried your pain so you could have peace. David sobbed openly, the years of anger melting into grief and relief. He saved me twice, he whispered. Once from the water, and once from my own hate. Andrew nodded, his eyes glistening. Then let's make sure his name lives forever. Weeks later, the mansion garden became a place of peace. A marble bench stood under the mango tree, engraved with words Andrew himself had written. He gave us life. He gave us love. He gave us each other. In loving memory of Mr. Williams, the janitor who saved the world of two boys. Andrew, Amanda, the twins, and David stood there together. No more bitterness. No more lies. Just family. The wind brushed the leaves, and for a moment, they could almost hear his voice again. Gentle, warm, proud. Stay with me, my boys, it whispered. Stay with me.